Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. It's time to play What's Cesar Hinting At? But first, a little bit of Gibson news. So a couple of weeks back, we talked about the whole Dean Gibson lawsuit kind of coming to an end. However, we were left with more questions than answers. We've got some more information here. Dean has been ordered to pay all of Gibson's legal fees to the tune of over $330,000. Hey, I see another burst going in their vault right here. But money aside, here's the big thing that's just crazy news. The courts are telling Dean they cannot make and market many of their key items. So obviously the big ones are the Dean Grand Sport and the Dean V and the Dean Z models. I mean, those things have been out since the 70s in various different forms, so the fact that they can't make those anymore is huge. But they also have to get rid of the Luna Athena 501 and anything advertised with the word hummingbird. So perhaps I should have bought that perfect $10,000 Dean Z example, because if they're not making those things anymore, the vintage ones can only go up. And on top of that, Dean is getting a new CEO because Evan Rubinson was kicked out, and apparently even alleged embezzling going on. So yeah, rough time for Dean. I'm really not sure if that brand is going to make it or not, but we'll see what they do. However, I'm sure this case is far from over. There'll probably going to be some appeals, but hey, it is what it is so far. But now let's focus on the fun stuff. So if you don't know, Cesar, one of the higher up guys at Gibson, I think he's technically number 2, right after Mr. Curly here, he likes to hint at what is coming in the future if you watch his Instagram page. So if you don't follow him, you might want to. So let's see here. The first thing I want to talk about is Kirk Hammett here playing a Moderne. So is this a new signature model that they're working on for him? I mean, it's a Moderne, it's all black, it's got a strange looking pickguard on that one, super multiply. It appears to have a Floyd Rose on it even. You've got your locking nut system right here, but hey, instead of the weird freaky Moderne thing, either the original design or the 80s design headstock, we've got an Explorer headstock. Okay, that is definitely an interesting take on the Moderne, but it really just kind of reminds me of the Moderne of Doom, because Zakk Wylde already made them put a Floyd Rose on one of those. But what was kind of interesting about these is they actually have an additional wooden ledge right here. So this is actually a step up from the wooden mahogany that you see right here. Those things were cheap, brand new, but for whatever reason, people pay crazy money on the used market nowadays. Now for me personally, I've never been a big fan of the Moderne. You can do whatever you want to it, it's just not that good of a shape in my opinion. I like it for its lore and its history, but outside of the 80s reissues, I think that's all we really needed. I mean, we've had AMS exclusive Modernes that I've reviewed and documented. However, what does make this interesting though is the description. Experimental prototype from the Gibson lab. Okay, so that means this might be one of the few custom shop Modernes to ever be made in quite some time, because outside of those AMS USA ones and the Moderne of Doom, I can't think of a time that the custom shop has actually reissued that weird thing. But their whole idea here was to modernize the Moderne. Will they release it in the future? They don't know yet. I'd be interested to hear your guys' thoughts on that. For me, it's a no, but if it does happen, I would still be excited at the same time once again because, hey, a custom shop Moderne, it does exist. But hey, hot off the presses, it looks like there's a couple of them on a rack right here, so maybe we will end up seeing those things. But let's zoom out on this picture. Is that what I think it is? An 84 Explorer? Huh. Who do we know that we want to be a Gibson signature guitar guy again that plays one of those? Is that a James Hetfield prototype? Or are they just bringing back the 84 style Explorer? Either way, that is an awesome win, and I hope this is hinting at that, because what else could it be saying? But some other interesting things that we can see in this photo is, oh, purple flying V. That must have something to do with Hammett. But then we also got a couple of Les Pauls over here. I'm really curious about those because we've got the Super 400 inlays on here, kind of like a Les Paul Supreme or a 25-50th anniversary Les Paul. However, this almost doesn't look like our regular custom emblem, so maybe it's a new signature guitar for somebody. They're coming in red and blue. It's not a Supreme because we don't have any binding on the back, and it doesn't look like it has a carved back, but you know, it's hard to tell from these photos, but something interesting is happening with the Les Paul Custom there. But next up here we have Cesar playing a new Tool signature guitar. Now we've actually talked about this before. This is Adam Jones' new signature reverse Silverburst Flying V with the now Moderne headstock on the V. We're just playing flip-flop of everything. You know, I've slowly started to warm up to the idea of these. I mean, they're starting to look interesting, but it definitely just has like Zakk Wylde vibes to it. Zakk made Gibson do some really crazy stuff before he went with his own Wild Audio brand. And once again, you can see it here in this photo. I like the big gaudy logo right here. We've got the interesting Schaller tuner tips. And then I don't know, I think I could do without the aging, but that's just me. And you've got the interesting layout here. It's kind of like the Dean V style right here. It's string through and Les Paul control layout style, but this isn't what I want to talk about again. This is what I want to talk about. The whole reason why I'm making this entire episode. Do you see that? It's one of these guys, the Gibson Theodore. It appears to maybe be in some prototypal stages to make it a little bit more pleasing to more people. Now, this is the only photo that he's teased so far, but it's in an aged Pelham blue finish, and the fact that it's aged tells me this likely isn't the Gibson USA production one that we were thinking was going to happen next, or if it is, they're playing around having fun here. But if you remember correctly, the Archive Collection Theodores, they had P90 pickups. This guy has a humbucker in the bridge. Okay, so we're kind of getting like Sergio vibes over here, or Tom Scholl's, Gibson BFGs, just a whole bunch of different things. The whole P90 humbucker combination set is really good. You're also going to notice that they're toying with the pick guard. Because let's face it, a lot of guys were saying, yeah, I wasn't quite too sure about the pick guard, and I think they had changed it from the original design to try to make it the way it is. They've got the switch tip and stuff right there. The toggle was in its own location, not a part of a pick guard, but over here it's encapsulated by it. But surprisingly enough, we still just have the wrap tail piece, though it does appear to be a little bit more vintage inspired and angled. Looking at it right here without seeing the cutaways and everything, maybe they're hiding stuff there too. It kind of reminds me of a PRS guitar. Not necessarily the Mira, but I'm not that well versed in PRS. It's the first thing that came to my head. So I'll be interested to see where they're going with that, because I really thought they were going to do like USA production, and putting that pickup combination out in USA production would be a whole lot of fun, because it would basically be like rebirthing the BFGs but in a new modernized approach. And obviously we've got the solid color right here, so you don't have to worry about these things looking antiquated because of, you know, the weird center stripe going on. So now that we've seen that Theodore, let's go back to this photo we were talking about earlier. Are these other Theodores? Because they almost look like they vaguely match that body shape. We've got black, red, natural, maybe even a burst. That could be a whole bunch of different stuff right there. And I guess while we're speculating about stuff, is that some sort of a new bound double cut back there? Who knows what these crazy guys are doing at the Gibson lab, but it looks like we're finally gonna get some new stuff. That's worth getting truly excited over. So I guess only time will tell on that. That's all Cesar wants us to know right now. But next up, how about this? You know, Gibson owns Kramer, so he can post Kramer stuff too. We've got a Hotdog. I love it. I love it so much, and it seems everybody does. If you really zoom in here, it says Kramer Hot Diggity. Yep, I can get behind that for, you know, a couple $100. You know, Kramer is just known for having a whole bunch of different graphics on him, from crazy swirls to polka dots to some cobras. I don't know if I'd pay $1,000 for one of those, but if we could have like a Hotdog $150 version Focus, that'd be fun. Something else I was excited to see is, hey, Tomo's here. If you don't know, he teaches at Berkeley Music. He's awesome. I like watching his lesson videos because he's just always so happy. He can just play all that stuff effortlessly, even though he's doing all these crazy chord changes. That's how I want to be able to play. And he does sell a Guitar Wisdom course thing if you're interested. But Cesar posting this guy makes me really happy. I really hope they give Tomo a signature guitar, because even though he might not be like that super recorded artist that everybody wants to be, he's a different kind of everybody wants to be him. I'm glad he has this reach online now too, because a lot of people just think of him as, oh yeah, that's the guy that taught John Mayer. No, he's more than that. He's his own individual person. So check him out on YouTube, Instagram, all those other places. Definitely worth it if you haven't heard him before. But I'd be curious, what would he spec out as his own signature guitar if it was offered to him? Then that got me thinking about Phil X. We're still waiting on the Phil X signature guitar. I don't see any hints on Cesar's page. And looking at Phil's, I don't necessarily see anything exactly like it. However, he is playing an interesting golden SG right here. It's got two P90 pickups. It just doesn't scream signature guitar. That looks more so modified guitar to me. So I guess we'll just have to keep patiently waiting for Phil to get his cool signature guitar. But speaking of people that were waiting to get signature guitars of, there's an article on guitar.com answering this exact question. You know, sometimes it's good to give Gibson ideas because maybe they don't know of a certain artist or you need to put them on their register. So the first one they said here was James Hetfield. Yeah, we needed that in like 2008 when they tried and it didn't happen. I'm saving up all my rewards points to buy one of those so I can keep it. So yeah, we can only hope the Iron Cross ends up happening. Then they said Keith Richards. I thought he already had one, but I guess not. Then they're saying Neil Young. Again, Gibson tried and it didn't work out. So now the Music Zoo just makes unofficial replicas through the Made to Measure program. And then they gave some interesting suggestions that I wouldn't have thought of. So Steve Hackett from Genesis. He's got an interesting single cut right here. Kind of reminds me of the Neil Schon signature guitars from around 2003-ish. Now his had the sustainer and a whole bunch of other weird stuff going on, modified the control layouts. This was the first Access Les Paul custom, and they are very expensive on the used market. So if they got on board with that, you'd kind of just have a slight reissuing of that in a roundabout way without the fancy inlays. And then they also suggested Robert Fripp of King Crimson. Not one I can really comment on too much. I mean, I think we've had enough Signature 3 pickup Black Beauties. But I'd be interested to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions down in the comments section below. All right, Troglodytes, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care.